The two stages of the duel. The duel is fought first of all between the automaton and the permanent witness, the latter trying to impose on the automatic I a style of behavior which will enable it to bring its inherent nature to fulfillment. This can be exemplified by conscious control of the organic functions, gestures, and psychological reactions. Refusal to follow inherited patterns, habits, and prejudices, observation of what tendencies are genuinely one's own, and conscious control over the subconscious and unconscious. The program of these requirements of the permanent witness is quite a task in itself, and will be analyzed further on. The aim of the struggle between the automatic I and the personal self is to bring about the fulfillment of this program. For this self shows what it wants, by putting forward suggestions and impulses to the automaton, who disputes their suitability and tries to evade them. Then the personality must plead the attractions of personal advantage, spectacular powers, impressive superiority, or simply a high professional reputation. This cultivation of the personal self can have a certain value, but it will only serve to exalt the ego so long as the ego has sole control. This nevertheless is the first victory we must win in order to subject the automatic I to the control of the conscious I, and put brain consciousness at the service of the permanent witness, so that the latter, out of its earlier experience, can rectify the data provided by the computations of thinking. The first result will be to arouse the automaton from its slumber, and the second will be to give an unsuspected interest to the problems of daily life. The interest which a trainer takes in controlling a wild beast, or a mountaineer in climbing inaccessible peaks. The interest that comes of knowing the inclinations and secret aim of one's personality, and how to work for their realization by methods of one's choice. Here we have two possibilities. Either we can enjoy a sporting interest in the struggle, keenly intent on the glorification of the ego, or else we can regard the result as a first awakening from sleep and the acquisition of the technique which later on will enable us to subject the personal consciousness to control by the spiritual witness. In the same way, a mountaineer, having climbed a dangerous peak, instead of reveling in a sportsman's pride, might find in the exaltation of the heights an opportunity to forget his personal limitations and make contact with the impersonal. But that which seems easy on the luminous heights becomes more tiresome in the banal conditions of the daily mind, and the permanent witness demands the just reward of its victory. For this reason it is imprudent to push too far this cultivation of the personal self, or leave it in sole command of the situation. As soon as the first successes have been obtained, it should be subjected to competition from the spiritual witness. In this second phase of the duel, the automaton will be apt to side with its master, the personal self, and help it to resist the suggestions of the spiritual self. The latter, however, does not use the practical methods of the personal self. Rather, it acts by insinuation, alternating between flashes of light and dark silence, until one becomes dissatisfied and longs urgently for its presence. The battle is now no longer between the brain, the liver, the sex, and their allies. The heart alone must undertake by its own serenity to resist their revolts. If the will to the light can achieve the transfer of authority to the physical and spiritual heart, the heart will prove that by its pacifying power it can establish equilibrium in the organism and bring about a state of peace in which the aggressive claims of the personality will gradually diminish. The possibility of this kind of control will be studied when we have described the practical means of attaining the first, which is control by the permanent witness. The heart draws its strength from participation in the impersonal, to which it opens by giving itself, by expansion and non-resistance. It seems logical that the cooperation of the conscious ego can be obtained in the work of regeneration which is going to destroy its egoism. What makes this possible is the contagious joy which emanates from the presence of the spiritual witness, for its presence arouses the intelligence of the heart, and the knowledge that results has an attraction for the personal self, because if it agrees to use its ability more and more in the service of the impersonal, it will be able in return for its sacrifice to share this knowledge and enjoy immortal union with the spiritual witness.